Hello everyone, welcome back to YouTube Notes, the place with the perfect science lessons. And in today's video, I'm here with an incredible science chapter, winds, storms, and cyclones. Let's begin. The properties of air. Moving air is called wind. When air moves from one place to another, it is called wind. The air exerts pressure, known as air pressure. The air around you has weight and it presses against everything it touches. This is called air pressure or atmospheric pressure. The force exerted on the surface by the air above it due to the gravity of the earth. So, this is actually happening due to the gravity of the earth. The increased wind speed is accompanied by a reduced air pressure. So, where the wind speed is high, the air pressure will be less, and where wind is not blowing, air pressure will automatically be more. Air moves from high pressure to low pressure. Then we know that the air expands on heating. When you heat air, the air expands, which in turn makes the air lighter. So that is why warm air is lighter than the cold air. And this is the reason that the warm air always tends to rise and the cold air comes down, because the cold air is heavier and the warm air is lighter. If you are clear with the concepts on this slide, the rest of the chapter is actually conceptually based on this. Let's move to the next slide. Now the wind currents are generated due to the uneven heating on the earth. So first case is the uneven heating between the equator and the poles. Region close to the equator gets maximum heat from the sun. The sunlight is falling directly over there. Air in these areas is warm and it rises. The cooler air from the regions about in the 0 to 30 degrees latitude belt on the either side of the equator, that is north and south 30 to 30, they both come towards the air in the equator because that air is cooler as compared to the air on the equator. So these winds blow from the north and the south towards the equator. At the poles, the air is colder than that at the latitude about 60 degrees. Now when we come to the poles, there also the air is cold then about the latitudes about at 60 degrees. So what happens is that the warm air at 60 degree latitudes, it will go up and the cold wind from the polar regions will rush in to take its place. This is how the wind keeps blowing due to the uneven heating between the equator and the poles. To sum up this slide, I would say that the air at the equator is warm. So that is why from the latitudes 30 degree north to the latitudes 30 degree south, these winds blow towards the equator as they are colder. And at the same time, what is happening at the poles is that the latitudes from 60 degrees, they are having warmer air than at the poles. So the cold air from the poles will come in to take the place of the 60 degrees latitude. Now if you look at this diagram showing the air circulation, you will notice that the winds are not blowing in a straight direction. They are curved. So the reason is that since the earth is rotating, the winds are also becoming curved, or else instead of these curved lines, the lines would have been straight. Now let's come to the uneven heating of land and water. On a daily basis, you might have heard of the sea breeze and the land breeze, but today we are going to talk about the seasonal basis. In summer, near the equator, the land warms up faster. Most of the time, the temperature of the land is higher than the water in the oceans. Hence, the air over the land is heated and this air rises. As a result, the wind from the oceans flows towards the land, and these winds are called monsoon winds. In winter, the direction of the wind flow gets reversed. What happens is that the oceans are warmer, land is cool. So, the wind flows from the land to the ocean. And these winds during the summer, they carry water and they bring rain. For example, the monsoon winds. They are in summer. That is why you might have always noticed that the rainy season is always after the summer, because that time the wind is flowing from the ocean to the land, hence water droplets are brought and rain is there. But during the winter, not much of the rain is noticed because the wind is flowing from the land towards the ocean. Let's go to the next slide. Now let's talk about the development of thunderstorms. Thunderstorms develop in hot, humid and tropical areas. And India is a perfect example, the coastline of India, perfect example of this climate. Rising temperatures produce strong upward rising winds. The temperature increases, the winds go upwards. And these winds, they carry water droplets also upwards. When the water droplets reach at a certain altitude, they freeze and they fall down again. and the wind is going up, water droplets are coming down. So the swift movement of the falling water droplets along with the rising air, this creates lightning and sound. This condition is called a thunderstorm. Here we have some precautions to be taken if the thunderstorm is accompanied with lightning. You should not take shelter under an isolated tree. If you are in a forest, you can take shelter under a small tree. Do not lie on the ground. Do not take shelter under an umbrella with a metallic end. Do not sit near a window. Open garages, storage sheds, metal sheds, they are not safe places to take shelter. A car or a bus is safe place to take shelter. If you are in water, please come out of the water and go inside a building. Basically prevent all contact with metal and water because they are very good conductors of electricity. Now let's look at the cyclone formation. From the thunderstorm only the cyclone originates. So what happens is that before the cloud formations, the water takes up heat from the atmosphere and this water changes into water vapor. When water vapor changes back to liquid to form raindrops, this heat is released into the atmosphere and thus this heat warms the air. Basically, when the water cools, it releases the air back into the atmosphere, warming the air. The air tends to rise and this causes a drop in the pressure. More air rushes to the center of the storm. This cycle is repeated. The chain of events ends with the formation of a low pressure system with high speed winds revolving around it. As if you recall, high speed winds, low pressure. So this condition is called a cyclone. The center of the cyclone is a calm area. This is called the eye of the storm. Its diameter can range from 10 to 30 kilometers. It is a region which is free of clouds, it has light winds, and around this calm and clear eye, there is a cloud region which is about 150 km in size. This is not exact, it is estimated. In this region, there are high speed winds, and these winds are about 150 to 250 kilometers per hour. And thick clouds are there with heavy rain. Away from this region, the wind speed is gradually decreasing. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, now destruction which is caused by cyclones. Severe loss of life and property takes place. Cyclones reduce the fertility of the soil, and continuous heavy rainfall further worsens the flood situation. High speed winds accompanying a cyclone can damage houses. They can damage telephones and other communication systems, trees, etc. So this makes up more trouble. Then cyclone is a violently rotating mass of air in the atmosphere. This you can use as the definition. Factors like wind speed, wind direction, temperature, and humidity, these contribute to the development of cyclones. Device called anemometer is used to measure wind speed. Okay, next slide. Precautions to be taken while cyclones. You can make necessary arrangements to shift essential household goods, domestic animals, and vehicles to safer places. Avoid driving on the roads through standing water and floods as they may have damaged the roads. Keep ready the phone numbers of all emergency services. Do not touch the wet switches and fallen power lines. And most important of all, do not go out just for the sake of fun. Now, tornadoes are also there. In our country, they are not very frequent. They are not very frequent in India. A tornado is a dark funnel shaped cloud that reaches from the sky to the ground. So, again, we have the definition of tornado. Now, another interesting fact is that cyclone is known by different names in different parts of the world. In America, it is called a hurricane. In Philippines and Japan, it is called a typhoon.